Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into a really powerful narrative about achievement, human psychology, and, well, how we get in our own way. We're going to break down how completely shifting your focus from a massive, towering end goal directly to your immediate, manageable next action can quite literally change the entire trajectory of your life. It kind of sounds too simple to be true, right? But as we'll see from our source material today, this tiny shift fundamentally alters how we approach success.
I want you to put yourself directly in the shoes of the main character in our source narrative. We're introduced to a girl who, like so many of us, dreams every single day of doing something great. But she hits this massive psychological brick wall. Whenever she actually looks at her ultimate goal, really looks at that sheer, terrifying distance she still has left to go, she just feels entirely paralyzed. That creeping, heavy feeling of wanting to throw her hands up and quit? Yeah, it just takes over completely.
Section 1. The weight of big goals and understanding the overwhelm.
She literally thinks to herself, "It's too much. I'll never get there." And wow, doesn't that just hit the nail on the head? The girl here represents that totally universal frustration we all feel when we calculate the massive gap between where we are right now and where we desperately want to be. When you're only staring at the finish line, miles away, the space between you and that line looks impossibly huge. It makes us want to quit before we even really start, mostly because the mathematics of the journey just don't seem to add up in our favor.
Section 2. The Old Man's Secret and a Shift in Perspective. So while she's stuck in this mindset of total defeat, she watches an old man climbing a hill, taking it one very, very small step at a time. And this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast between two completely different ways of operating. On one side, you have the girl's rushing mindset. She looks at the old man and actually asks him why he's walking so slowly, bluntly telling him, he'll never reach the top like that. She is consumed by macro anxiety, worrying exclusively about the top of the hill. On the other side, we have the old man's pacing mindset. He isn't sweating his speed relative to the peak at all. His entire approach is grounded in micro actions.
When she challenges him about his pace, the old man just responds, "I don't need to reach the top today. I just need to take the next step." Just think about how incredibly freeing that is. Notice how he entirely detaches himself from the overwhelming burden of the final destination. By removing the pressure of reaching the top today, he instantly eliminates the anxiety that was paralyzing the girl. He shrinks his whole world down to the radius of his very next footfall.
Section 3. Putting it into practice and the daily grind.
The narrative tells us that she thinks deeply about what he said. And the very next morning, she decides to finally start her own journey. But here's the kicker. She translates his physical steps into a practical, repeatable process for her own ambitions. Instead of focusing on becoming instantly successful overnight, she breaks it down. Step 1, one page. Step 2, one problem. Step 3, one small improvement. This totally replaces the impossible, abstract idea of taking a giant leap with tangible, bite-sized tasks. It's a system of pure consistency. Because let's be honest, a single page or a single problem is never really too much to handle on its own, right?
Section 4. Moving through the exhaustion and the reality of the journey. Now, we definitely have to acknowledge that this small step method isn't some magical cure-all that makes the work effortless. This journey compounds over time, and the reality is, well, it's pretty gritty. Day 1 starts with a simple decision to begin. But then comes the messy middle, navigating difficult days and experiencing outright failures. The magic isn't in dodging hardship, it's in keeping the old man's wisdom front and center. As time passes and months roll by, she actually reaches the goal she once thought was impossible. This progression proves that the secret isn't perfection, it's just unyielding persistence.
This realization right here, this is the absolute core of our explainer today. She didn't succeed because she was never tired. She succeeded because she kept moving even when she was. When you are solely focused on taking one single step, you can convince yourself to take it even if you're completely exhausted. Success ultimately boils down to continuous forward movement, refusing to halt your momentum even when the motivation dries up and the exhaustion really sets in.
Section 5. Your next small step and the final takeaway. Let's wrap up by exploring exactly what this means for your own overwhelming ambitions. Looking back at everything she's accomplished, the girl realizes, maybe the secret was never taking a giant leap. Maybe it was simply refusing to stop. What a profound takeaway. She learns that you really don't need to worry about how far you have to go. You don't have to carry the weight of the entire journey on your shoulders every single day. Actually, scratch that.
You just shouldn't. You just have to focus all of your energy on the immediate next action.
And that leads us to this powerful truth drawn straight from the narrator's closing thoughts. Small steps, taken every day, can change your entire life. By eliminating the immense pressure of the giant leap, these small, daily actions become sustainable. It's the consistency, the everyday part of this equation, that quietly builds an empire while you're simply focused on laying one brick at a time.
Keep going. Your future self is counting on you. If the absolute secret to conquering the impossible is simply ignoring the peak and focusing on the path right in front of your feet, I have to ask you, what is the single next step you're going to take today?